Welcome to Norse Code, the #1 podcast for your Minnesota Vikings. I'm your host, Dusty O'Connell. Joining me is Vikings blogger extraordinaire and generally useful human, Arif Hassan. How are you doing, Arif?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I am great as well. I am fully distracted because I have discovered the infinite joys of owning a fidget spinner.
So I haven't even watched a video on fidget spinners. Are they genuinely enjoyable, or it just spins, right?
Well, yeah, I'm actually spinning it right now, and it's keeping my heart rate low and my breathing in tune with the vibrations of the universe or whatever. I don't know. I picked one up a few weeks ago. I'm glad it's
having a positive effect on your EM field.
Well, yeah, exactly. My gut microbiome is extremely healthy right now, even without the influence of kombucha.
Glowing.
Exactly. It's I'm glowing a cool blue right now. But no, I picked one up while I was reading a really boring book, and I would just flip it with my fingers and try to balance it on the ends of my fingers, and I can appreciate the use of it if you're just if you're stuck doing something that would otherwise be boring. Just find yourself a decent fidget spinner that's not super annoying and spin it, and you'll feel better about whatever you're doing.
That makes sense. I spin pens you were in debate in high school, you know this, but yeah, I spin pens all the time. I'm sure that's not that different.
Oh no, this is much easier than twirling a pen.
No, I'm just having the distraction in your hand while you're reading something boring. I get it. Yeah, I understand.
It taps into a very base part of your brain. But of course, with any fad, there's a million different options and choices and all this. All the fidget spinners are basically just like metal attached to a rollerblade bearing, and so it comes down to the quality of the bearing and the quality of the metal around it. So if you can find one that's quiet and relatively light, you can have a pleasant time twirling some crap in your hand. And also,
looking forward to your fidget spinner review blog. I bet some of those are making massive amounts of money right now.
Well, it was funny. I was hanging out at the Pride Fest last weekend in Denver, and they had a fidget spinner booth with more types of fidget spinner than I had ever seen. They probably had 50 different types.
Did you consult with them before making this most recent purchase?
No, I had already gotten my first fidget spinner, and I bought 2 more on the internet after that, because all the ones at Pride, the same models that were selling on Amazon for $10 to $15 were selling for $30 to $45 at Pride. It was just standard,
Can't believe you would deprive a local business of that kind of money.
You mean a street sale huckster? Yeah, no, that's... I might have contemplated bargaining them down. They let me play with all the ones that they had and they had some cool ones, square gear type style ones, but none of them really appealed to me to where I wanted to try and haggle with them. So I was just whatever. I'll find another one I like on the internet. So I did. But yeah, if you find yourself sitting bored, get a fidget spinner. That's my...
Right, so that's the endorsement from Dusty Bezos O'Connell.
I wish I was as sharp as Bezos. So have you followed the evolution of Amazon's mission statements?
No.
So they started out with wanting to be the #1 resource for information sources, starting with books. And they've gone through 2 or 3 iterations of their mission statement, and now their mission statement is basically to take a cut of all economic activity in the world. Which is a pretty great mission statement, right?
Yeah, I guess. That seems a little nefarious, but sure.
Hey man, if you can get a penny out of every dollar, that goes around the world, that's a lot of pennies.
Yeah, that's maybe 1%. I'm just spitballing here. 1% of all of the economic activity in the I don't know. This is a rough estimate.
That's enough money to where you could own a major newspaper and your own space program.
Both at loss.
Well, Amazon is a low margin business, but not so low margin that it can't just like buy Whole Foods outright. Like they bought the whole of Foods. All foods belong to Amazon now.
Every food. Are we going to talk about something or?
Every food. Yeah. Regrettably, there is very little to talk about in the football realm, or at least the Vikings realm, that does not have to do with kombucha. I guess we can re-engage with that. I don't know what else there is to say about it other than an update on the length of Michael Floyd's potential suspension. Spoiler alert, news is not good.
So a source told Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk basically what we could have just looked up, I guess, from the NFLPA CBA. Like it's not that distinct, but they just held a hearing. So while Michael Floyd was attending a hearing about his sentencing, the NFL was holding a hearing about his suspension. So essentially the source told Florio it's at least 2 games, could be more. We kind of already knew that. We were estimating 2 to 4 games. But the aggravating factors include an extremely high, I think it's called an extreme DUI, and in this case, for the NFL, it's a blood alcohol content level above 15%. Remember, Michael Floyd blew, not 15%, 0.15%. Remember, dead. You're suspended if you die of alcohol poisoning. But remember, Michael Floyd blew 0.22, so it certainly trips that. There's other aggravating circumstances that could also potentially be at play. For example, he had a citation for drunken driving while he was at Notre Dame. I don't know if they count that as a prior incident because the way the rule is written, it's not prior incident in the NFL. It's just prior instance. So that's another aggravating circumstance that could move that initial suspension from 2 to maybe 4 games. But we know it's at least 2. And then the second thing that Florio reported is that, and I don't think this one was sourced, is that this next incident could be 8 games. I don't know if it's 8. He doesn't know if it's 8 games. But he's like, yeah, it says a second violation is 8 games. And then he has the same question I do, which is, does that mean a second DUI? Or does it mean like a second violation related to a thing that's like connected to a DUI? And on my piece at Zone Coverage, I just wrote, it seems like they may actually instead just apply the violation of the treatment protocol standard, which is itself a 2 to 4 game suspension, probably a 2-game suspension. So my guesstimate is a 4-game suspension for the initial thing, a 2-game suspension for the most recent incident. So he'll miss 6 games, but he could miss 12.
Depending on whether or not the criminal nature of his kombucha violation rises to the degree of a violation of substance abuse policy or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember, Josh Gordon's year-long suspension turned into indefinite suspension, and or his indefinite suspension stayed indefinite because he was seen drinking a glass of alcohol on a plane, just in violation of his treatment plan, despite the fact that none of the issues involved the Josh Gordon suspension were the violations of the law, involved alcohol at all. They were all marijuana related. The league gets kind of weird about this stuff.
Well, and I'm hesitant to entertain comparisons between Michael Floyd and Josh Gordon. I think that might be maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I feel like that might be painting Floyd with too Gordon a brush.
I think that Gordon is a useful thing to bring up just because it's a nice extreme to compare stuff to. So, for example, many people don't know that Josh Gordon is actually still on like a Browns receiver. Like he's still contracted with the Browns because his contract keeps tolling. And so that is a good demonstration that no matter what, a suspension doesn't actually hurt a team unless there's a PR hit, because it doesn't go against the cap. It doesn't count against your roster, except, I mean, for Michael Floyd, it's a little bit different because suspension starts as soon as the season starts, which means that he'll be taking up a roster spot on the 90-man roster. But it's not as if like the 98th person you're going to sign over the course of 16 games is going to provide more than Michael Floyd is over the course of, say, 8 games or even 4 games. So that's just a pretty easy decision.
Well, and it seems like the Vikings have, put their chips on Floyd. Kyle Rudolph has said, hey, I was there drinking the kombucha with him. They have it on tap at the training facility. What's the big deal? And, the wagons are being circled. So, it's,
what's the big deal?
What's the big deal, man? It's just a little kombucha. You're not down with the fermented tea?
You just blew .055. No biggie.
Exactly. We're having a race to see who could finish our 5-gallon keg of kombucha first. I won, but I'm not on probation, so it didn't matter, said Rudy.
Apocryphally.
Completely apocryphally. I don't know. I imagine the Vikings don't want to make it seem like they, made a bad decision trying to get a guy that couldn't wait 5 days to go have a drink. If that's what happened. I'm not, speculating. Right. But for whatever reason, the Vikings and Michael Floyd find themselves in this situation. Floyd's back in Arizona. He's probably out of jail now, back in his actual house. Rudy and Floyd has had his next 2 episodes canceled.
Yeah, they're on a hiatus.
Yeah, they're on a brief hiatus, writer's strike. But
it's just the internet money rights, man. It'll get you.
Huh. Speaking of internet money, we've promised a lot of things in our little listener support promos, and this episode, now that we've talked about the only Vikings thing, is dedicated to sharing with you 3 crucial pieces of news that should delight and excite Norse Code listeners for the foreseeable future. But first, Bill Arendt sends us $20 via the PayPal, which you can do yourself by going to paypal.me/NorseCode. And he includes the comment, I'd send more, but my kombucha contact said hell no.
Topical donations, man.
You got to have a guy for kombucha? I thought you just had to like know some hippie chick.
Well, I mean, whoever the hookup is doesn't really matter. But you got to pay attention to what your hookup is saying. You don't want to be left out to dry. Or I guess the opposite of dry.
Or left out to be wet with kombucha. You don't want kombucha on your face?
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't want the fermented yeast and bacterial culture all over your face, metaphorically.
Well, at any rate, thanks, Bill, for the $20. We really appreciate it. That money goes a long way towards making sure we can keep the lights on here at Norse Code. But we've got bigger fish to fry here today. And that is announcing the first piece of official Norse Code merchandise just in time for our 5th season. You can go to norsecodepodcast.com/merch, where we will now be offering actual bumper stickers with the Norse Code logo that you have grown to know and love over the last approximately 4-ish years. Like we used it was so funny. Like we put this show together using the name of the show came from the intro music clip that still plays at the beginning of every episode. Like it came basically pre-built with the Daily Norseman. They were like, oh hey, they had a podcast for 5 minutes and they had this song, and I was like, cool, let's use this song, we'll call it Norse Code. 2 problems solved. And we used the Daily Norseman logo for the first season of the show, but then season 2 came around and I was like, SoundCloud's not cutting it. We gotta upgrade our systems. We tried affiliate marketing, decided that the donation model was the way to go because our listeners are so generous. And we shined up our logo a little bit, and now you can purchase a sticker with that same logo on our website for $5. Slap it on your car, slap it on your bar key, your guitar case, your speaker, your laptop thing. Like put it over the glowing, stupid apple on your Mac laptop or whatever.
Oh, Dusty taking shots at the glowing apple.
It's the last thing on a Mac laptop that serves no purpose to the user. Like, does Apple really have to advertise anymore?
Dusty, it's not about Apple advertising. It's about the user advertising that they use Apple. Come on.
Oh, but Apple's silhouette is so like recognizable, and frankly, like the iPhone, like if Apple cared about like laptop marketing, they would actually make a good laptop. But that's maybe a discussion for another day.
You're wading into territory that's going to get us less donations and more hate mail.
That's a discussion for another day. The point is,
I'm just saying, let's make value positive decisions in our donation pitch.
Go to NorseCodePodcast.com/merch and buy a bumper sticker for $5. Good news for everybody that currently supports us on Patreon. I don't know precisely how much address information we have for all of you. I'll have to like dig into our archives. But if you are a current donor and you email us your mailing address at NorseCodePodcast@gmail.com, we'll just send you a sticker. You have earned that right. You can also contribute at the $3.50 a month level. Go to patreon.com/NorseCode and do that. And we'll send you a sticker. Just send us your mailing address when you do that. Sticker for you. Just that easy. And they're pretty good stickers too. We are partnering hopefully with a pretty awesome, well-known online sticker site for some very good quality vinyl bumper stickers. 11.5 inches by 3 inches. So your Norse Code pride will be visible to the person tailgating you in traffic very clearly.
Great.
I know, so exciting.
Spread the word. Preferably while driving.
Yes. Well, and since you'll probably be sitting in terrible traffic, the person behind you will have an opportunity to download Norse Code and become a member of our glorious and dedicated listenership.
It's a win-win.
So stickers, yay!
It's a win for me. It's a win for Dusty. Win-win.
It's a win for the sticker company. It's a win for you. It's a win for literally everyone, especially the people that haven't listened to Norse Code yet. Just imagine what they're missing. Okay, so next thing. This is actually legitimately cool. There's a podcast called Titletown Sound Off. You probably don't listen to it because the three hosts, 2 brothers and another guy, are Packer fans. Well, it turns out they make a pretty decent podcast. And Chris, the primary like host and producer, like quasi mastermind of the show, approached us on Twitter a couple weeks ago and was like, "Hey, we should have a contest for who can get the most 5-star iTunes ratings." I know what I just said about laptops, but I wholeheartedly believe that iPhones are like, I see everybody with Apple Watches and iPhones. I'm an Android guy. Stitcher is terrible. The iTunes Store and the iTunes Podcast Store are a big driver of traffic, especially if you have a lot of listens and you get a lot of like 5-star ratings. Chris knows this, and I knew this, but I didn't really know what to do about it. So Chris approached us and was like, "Well, what if we had a contest to see who could get the most 5-star ratings between now and the start of the season?" And he was like, "Well, the loser has to have their face, photoshopped on a Packers jersey or whatever." I was like, we can do better than that. We're seasoned pros at this. And so is Titletown Sound Off. They're approaching episode 120.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, and they've got high production value and some actually well reasoned. I mean, it's nothing like Justice Mosqueda. Like they're not like actively trolling their fan base, but it's a good podcast. They're trying hard, and I thought to myself, I was like, well, what can we do to raise the stakes a little bit? How can we make this a more interesting competition that can benefit both podcasts and maybe, some other people at the same time? And I figured this would be a great opportunity for us to launch our first charity drive. So we're doing a charity iTunes rating battle with Titletown Sound Off. That's a lot of words.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to come up with a name for it, but I mean, that's an appropriate description of what this is.
I mean, that's exactly what it is, but we got to shorten that down into something punchier. But here are the rules. Between today, June 29th, and September 9th, the last day before the beginning of the actual regular season, there will be a race to see who can get the most 5-star ratings on iTunes. So what we're doing here is, if you're listening to this podcast right now, hit pause. Well, actually, don't hit pause right now. Wait till I finish telling you what to do.
It's too late. They've already hit pause.
No. So now that you're confused and you have unpaused, we're glad you're back. And we're giving you a mission. Your mission is to go to the iTunes podcast store and give Norse Code the #1 podcast for your Minnesota Vikings. And it's crucial that you look up Norse Code, the #1 podcast for your Minnesota Vikings, and check for the icon with the shiny episode logo. Not the Daily Norseman logo, but the one that's on the sticker, the one that's on every episode, the one that's on our YouTube channel, the one that's on our website. And give us a 5-star rating. So give us that 5-star rating. You can leave a review, you don't have to. It is imperative that you do not try to neg Titletown Sound Off. There's no penalty for 1-star reviews. There's no penalty for like 2-star ratings. It's just a race to see who can get the most 5-star reviews of their own show, or from the fans of their own show. So go to the iTunes podcast store and give us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review if you want, or don't. Just the rating is key. Because on September 10th, the loser of this contest, in other words, the podcast with fewer 5-star ratings between June 29th and September 9th, will pay $1 for each of the winners' 5-star ratings to the winner's chosen charity. Now, Titletown Sound Off has chosen the Alzheimer's Association, which is an amazing charity. They do a lot of great work. Alzheimer's is a disease that affects families of wealth and not wealth all over the country, all over the world. And anything we can do to learn more and stop the spread of this disease will be amazing work. However, wouldn't it be better if Titletown Sound Off had to pay money instead to the Mike Zimmer Foundation?
I think one way to resolve this is that people should themselves donate $1 to Alzheimer's research and then leave us a 5-star review. In effect, doubling your donation, but now instead for the Mike Zimmer Foundation.
You could do that. Or you could just buy it.
I mean, Alzheimer's research sounds pretty cool, so you don't want to feel bad about it. Give us a 5-star review, and then donate your guilt away.
Or don't. Just be very clear about the 5-star review part. That's the most important thing, because as much as we would like to donate a bunch of money to the Alzheimer's Association, and don't get me wrong, Titletown Sound Off is not like some rinky-dink podcast with 10 followers. These guys, they're very similar in style to us. They are a pretty good pound for pound matchup, I think, with Norse Code. And I want to prove that our listenership is the best podcast listenership in the upper Midwest. And we can only do that with your 5-star ratings. So let's make Titletown Sound Off give a giant chunk of money to the Mike Zimmer Foundation with your 5-star ratings on the iTunes podcast store. Now you can press pause and go do that. And we'll wait. It's fine. We got time. But you're going to love this next thing that we're about to tell you. I know I do. This is one of the most exciting things that's happened in my entire life.
This is pretty cool.
You've traveled abroad like a couple of times before, Arif, right?
Quite a few times, yes.
Ah, yes. As a globe-trotting sports blogger, you've been everywhere. Well, I tell you what, man. I've got a passport with 0 stamps.
As it so happens,
Well,
I do too, but for different reasons.
Well, as long as you have it is the point.
Right.
When the time comes. Because, and artificial drum roll goes here, Arif and I are going to go see the Vikings stomp the Browns at Twickenham Stadium in London, United Kingdom on October 29th, 2017. This is real. The tickets have been purchased. I've got lodging and flights lined up. We are going to be at the game. And I know we've got at least 2 people who listen from the UK to Norse Code. And we would like to hang out with both of you while we're in frickin' London for the Vikings game. So if you are a UK fan of the Vikings and a fan of Norse Code at the same time, which I don't see how you can be one without the other, this is your opportunity to maybe not go see the game with us. I mean, we paid handsomely for some decent tickets.
Yeah, it turns out pounds worth more than dollars. Who knew?
Right? Slightly, turns out.
Slightly. Not as much as it used to.
Yeah, I don't know if I made I thought about trying to surf the economic winds to try and get the best price, but then I was like, you know what? I would rather just have the deal sealed so that we can come on the podcast and talk about how excited we are to go to London to watch a Vikings game.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sure, I'm very excited.
It's against the Browns, but hey, at least that means we're not going to lose. This is going to be a very exciting Sunday morning for us, and then potentially a very exciting Sunday afternoon for us and everyone in the London area who wants to hang out with us, because we will be bringing, of course, some portable recording equipment so that we can, I guess, maybe not live tape, but make a recording during the show and then do a recap episode, hopefully from some sort of, pub in London, some kind of public venue where we can potentially get a sense of the local flavor and maybe a couple of choice quotes from people who are fans of the show and also fans of the Vikings.
So that would be awesome. We'd love to see any of the fans that are in the UK, especially if you have the ability to make it to London without, breaking your back. And then also we'd love to hear recommendations about where to hold this event, like where to record, places to go in London. I mean, it's not like, we'll only be there for the game. We want to hear what you have to say about what we should do in London when we're not doing stuff for the game, too.
Exactly. The game is in the morning. I mean, we're going to have a whole afternoon and evening to be in London proper. And, some of that time will be spent taping a recap episode of Norse Code. But some of it won't. And any suggestions that our awesome listenership across the pond can offer will be welcomed. And of course, you know where to find us on Twitter at NorseCodeDN. And emails are also accepted at NorseCodePodcast@gmail.com. And we will have a page on our website shortly where, you know, hopefully we can get some kind of like group meet situation going. I don't know what the best format for that is going to be, but we'll build this airplane now that it's in the air pretty quickly, because this is a really exciting opportunity for us to meet and connect with some Vikings fans in a part of the world that is customarily not that enthusiastic about the Vikings. Also, please buy a sticker so that we can afford train tickets. It'd be very embarrassing to be stuck at the airport. No, I'm just kidding. We've got... Don't worry about that. I mean, buy a sticker because they're great. But, no, we're going to London, man.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
It's going to be dope.
And so should I blow up your spot about zone coverage? Are they sending you there to write something, or?
We're in discussions.
Talks are happening.
So
there is the prospect of a great deal of digital multimedia content from our trip to London. Norse Code is going to London. But first,
if I don't sound super excited, it's because we're recording this in the morning and my roommates are asleep. But I am really, what's the word? Stoked. No, sorry, that's 20 years old. What word do kids use these days?
Jazzed?
That one seems like 20 years old as well.
Hyped?
10 years old.
Lit?
Yeah, there we go. That one's only like 2 years old. We're fine. We're good. I am super lit. Wow, I screwed that up.
Effing lit over effing London. I mean, screw the Browns. Who cares about the stupid Browns?
Yeah, I don't really, like, okay, so there's, like, potentially a lot of, like, objective reasons to maybe want to watch the Browns. They've got an analytics front office. They've got some pretty special athletes. Deshaun Kaiser is going to be a roller coaster. I assume he'll be starting by then. Don't care. We're going to London to watch and then talk about the Vikings and hang out with people who love to talk about the Vikings. It's very exciting.
And potentially other things, too. I can work on my Cockney accent.
Yeah, we might be able to go to I think it's the world's first fast food restaurant. They serve gelatinized eel.
Well, as long as it's better than cold jellyfish, I'll eat it.
I'm just going to eat. I mean, just for the history of it. I'm definitely going to eat it.
I'm going to eat everything. Everything that our intrepid listeners tell me to. Because I am functionally, like, I've been to Canada, but that's like not even the cool parts of Canada. I've just been to like Winnipeg and like Regina, Saskatchewan.
Regina.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I've been to Moose Jaw. There's nothing rednecky about Moose Jaw at all.
That's definitely a place. Yeah. Update on the recommendations that we're canvassing. If we could get stuff that is just super British, that is not boiled food, that like stuff that like sounds really just English, like spotted dick, which definitely I'll be having. I want those specifically. So the jellied eels, definitely having, very British. Spotted dick, definitely having, very British. Any other very British foods I would love to hear about.
A proper cup of tea, a decent English breakfast would be fine.
Decent. The game is at like 8. How are we gonna spend time getting an English breakfast and then going to the? We'd have to wake up at like 6:30.
Well, that's
6
for,
even.
That's for Monday. Like I'm not personally leaving until
fair enough.
Monday night, and I'm getting in on Saturday. Like it's gonna be like a weekend trip.
Like an English brunch fest, I guess.
Is that a thing? Do you brunch in England? If so, shoot us an email. NorseCodePodcast@gmail.com with your optimal brunch spots. We'll wear our rompers and put our pinkies up. No, but like and we would like to engage the community as much as possible, like in the run up to this. Like, I want lots of suggestions on the best chicken tikka. I want lots of suggestions on, the best jellied eel or spotted dick or whatever it is that, you're into. I want all of it. I want this to be the best experience of my entire life. And I know it's going to be because the Vikings are going to win. But I want to keep that buzz alive for the rest of the trip. And we're going to need your help, Vikings UK, to get it done. So please be in touch. Let's get together as a community and make this a super awesome adventure for everyone involved. I think this will be a truly unforgettable time and a great way to kind of, who knows if Michael Floyd will even be on the field at that point? Probably no, given everything we said at the beginning of the show. Given that now his suspension could potentially be 10 weeks.
Or two.
If two, amazing. Then we're definitely going to win. But, this is...
Yeah, Michael Floyd was going to be the difference against the Browns.
It's going to... Well, you know what? I've been watching this team long enough to not jinx it, so I'm just going to keep my
fair enough, yeah.
thoughts to myself.
It's not as if the Vikings didn't almost ruin the Detroit Lions' perfect 0-16 record one year. So close.
When have the Vikings ever blown it? That's just not in their nature. So that's that's our show for this week. Functionally, we can play around in the mailbag for a couple minutes, but yeah, we just wanted to check in with you guys. Thank you for letting us take 2 weeks off in a row. We wanted to check in and say, hey, we haven't just been dicking around back here. We've been doing a small amount of actual work, and a
small amount.
Well, but. The work that we've done will not only spread the glorious word of Norse code on cars and laptop backs all over Minnesota and the UK and Hawaii and Norway and Australia and apparently Antarctica. I think somebody might have been using a proxy server.
That seems likely. Although I kind of would find it pretty dope if one of the researchers down there was such an ardent Vikings and Norse code fan that they needed to get their... How does the internet... Is it all satellite uplink?
It's got to be satellite
We need
uplink.
input, Antarctica listener.
Well, there's only one way to know, and that's for people to send us pictures of themselves with their Norse code stickers from wherever they're at.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Yes, do that. Please do that.
So get your sticker. If you're already a donor, don't worry. As soon as we get the stickers, I'm going to turn around and mail them to you as long as I have your mailing address. But once you get a sticker, send us a picture of you putting it to work wherever you're at. Because we want to know. It's so fun. One of the best things about the server upgrade that we did a few years ago that I talked about in the beginning of the show is that, we can more or less see where our traffic is coming from. And it never ceases to amaze us how, it comes from all over the world. And at first we thought it was a joke. Oh, these people must think we're a Norwegian death metal band or something. But it turns out that we get consistent downloads from, people all over the world listening to Norse code. So buy a sticker. We'll send it to you. We have $5. That $5 is all inclusive, shipping and everything. Buy a sticker. We'll send it to you. Send us a picture of you with the sticker so that we know where you're at listening to the number one podcast for your Minnesota Vikings. And then that will be the fuel that fires our little below average butts on our way to frickin' London. All right, so I guess enough victory lap for the moment. Let's turn to our beloved listeners. Skull Page on Twitter writes in, Considering contract implications, do you think Teddy plays this year? And if so, when?
Plays is very difficult. I think he'll be on the active roster this year for sure. Whether or not that means he plays, I don't know. The Vikings are probably going to be, maybe probably is too strong a word. I feel that the Vikings are going to be in a tense playoff race. They'll be wanting to win every game, and so they can't just throw a game. I'm not saying Teddy is, I mean, obviously, people are well aware that I think that Teddy is a better quarterback than Sam Bradford. But I think that, if they're in the middle of the playoff race, they're not going to just, pull a fast one and see what they have in Teddy. They're just going to, maintain continuity if they can. So I don't think that they'll use, Week 17 unless they've got, the 1 seed sewn up or the 3 seed. It's impossible to drop to 4 or 5 or 6. I think that it's unlikely that they're going to play him. So the other possibility is, Sam Bradford gets injured, which is not an unheard of event. But I think that projecting that happening is being a little bit aggressive with his injury history. So I would say active for sure, maybe plays cleanup duty in a game at best. But it would take an injury, I think, for him to play.
Different question. Same author. What is your opinion on Mack versus Newman for slot cornerback?
If it's just slot cornerback, I prefer Terrence Newman, but I think holistically, I would prefer Mack at slot and Terrence Newman outside with Trey Waynes as a backup, but everyone kind of just knows my thoughts on Trey Waynes. And that's why. I'm not saying that Mackenzie Alexander necessarily performed better than Waynes did, but I do think that based off of what I felt about Alexander in college and what I feel about how Waynes has progressed, that Alexander has much more room to become a good cornerback right now than Waynes does. So if it's just the slot, I think that Newman is a better slot cornerback, and I'd prefer to play him, even if you want to spend time developing Alexander. But I think that if it comes to determining your 3 corners, I want it to be Xavier, Newman, and Mack.
Okay, wait. So just to pin you down, do you think that Newman still has the stuff to be a good outside corner?
Yeah, I mean, he had the stuff last year. He's the best number 2 cornerback in the league.
All right. This is, I don't forget exactly where in our mentions this happened, but peas and mayonnaise on pizza?
I thought this happened in our chat, but if not, Hoodie must have sent it to us. I'm against it.
I'm against it.
You have experiential reasons to be against it. I'm against it because duh.
Okay, so mayonnaise is not pizza sauce.
Oh, no way.
Right? Shocking. I didn't know that had to be newsworthy, but it's not. Especially commercial I don't really understand why mayonnaise that's sold in commercial quantities is called heavy duty mayonnaise. But
heavy duty. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, the 5-gallon tubs of mayonnaise you get, if you're in a commercial application, they all say heavy duty mayonnaise. Like it's going to be doing work.
like it's going to be the epoxy that'll finally bind your wood and metal together.
I've worked in a lot of restaurants, a lot of pizza joints, a lot of bars, never seen light duty mayonnaise.
Oh yeah, you don't want to buy the mayonnaise that slacks off.
Nobody needs lazy mayonnaise. Well, I tell you what, heavy duty mayonnaise, between the oil and the egg solids, it just doesn't stand up to super high heat. It's just mayonnaise is not pizza sauce. If you ever see a pizza like that, just turn around and walk away. Just give it the old Grandpa Simpson when he sees Bart there running the door at the burlesque club. Just walk in and walk out. How often does Arif forget which podcast he is currently hosting?
I don't think I do that, hopefully. Pretty sure I don't. I think I keep a different tone on all the podcasts, so. Yeah. The fact that I'm always bouncing off of someone else, I don't know how Andy does it. He's got like 3 different podcasts, and he
3,
just
more
talks
like
to himself.
20.
But yeah, I mean, I talk to you, so I know that you're not Andy, and I talk to Andy, and I know he's not you. And I talk to Ben, who's clearly neither of you.
And but so I guess my follow-up question: how often do you repeat yourselves? I guess that applies to both you and Andy. Well, I mean, I suppose Andy probably repeats himself a lot on all his shows, but not counting Wide Left, how often do you repeat yourself on your various Vikings-related podcasts?
Sometimes it's difficult for me to tell because sometimes I'll take like not a bit, but like just a chunk of words that I have figured out a word order for, and I'll deploy it in a conversation I'm having with someone. I'll say it on like a radio appearance. Maybe I'll have the kombucha thing, for example. I have talked about like how alcohol ferments kombucha and how it produces either carbon dioxide or vinegar, like a ton of times. I did it on the Cold Omaha Staff podcast. I did it on the Andy Lukery Football Machine. I think I did it for Norse Code last week. I definitely did it for 2 different radio stations. I did it in 2 different conversations with roommates. So that happens. But I like to think that I typically will lead with maybe similar analysis, but because the conversation always moves in different directions, we'll end up producing different types of content for both podcasts.
Well, you did not get into the details of kombucha fermentation on last week's show.
Oh, yeah, because it'd be redundant because this podcast is a conversation with you and you actually know more about it than I do.
Well, no, and little more back pat for us at Norse Code. We got the first bite at the apple on that one. I think our your appearance here was
my first kombucha appearance was on Norse Code. Yeah, it's true.
Still number 1.
Also, did you know? So this is something I found out after all of those podcast and radio appearances. Did you know that like because of the added juices and because they like probably intentionally mislabeled their products, then instead of having the 2 grams of sugar that people thought that GT brand kombucha tea had, making it very, very difficult to metabolize into a lot of alcohol, it actually has 20 grams of sugar per bottle because it's 10 grams per serving. Like, that's a lot of sugar that you can metabolize.
Well, okay, but they, what they do is they like let it ferment to a certain point because you can't just let kombucha keep fermenting. Like, I mean, you and Andy did like little jokes about this, about secondary fermentation of your kombucha. You can't just let it keep fermenting, so they like flash pasteurize it to like kill the yeast to stop it from eating the sugar. And then they just
GT doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, they so most brands will because that's makes sense.
Wait,
if you've been sent 2 letters by the Alcohol Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, but GT doesn't, and they're very proud of it because they think that you cannot get any of the probiotic benefits.
Well, wait, so they still like pump it full of like juice sugar afterward, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's not their fault if the consumer does not refrigerate the product.
Well, I guess, and I imagine that the yeast are so tired by the time they've undergone initial fermentation.
Yes, they've worn out their very clearly overworked fermentation muscles. That's it. They went dormant because of that.
Well, and GT is clearly counting on you just like buying the bottle and drinking it, not like trying to re-ferment it so you can get all Michael Floyd on it.
You know what's weird is that they do recommend that you either consume all of like the floating yeast and bacteria, which I guess that's the point, so I guess it's not that gross, or strain it out so that you can preserve the texture you want for your tea while still maintaining the great GT taste. Please sponsor us. No, we don't take sponsorships, actually, so never mind. And then
GT can still send us free kombucha. I am curious to do some home testing myself. In fact, One of the things I'm most curious about is like, what does the tea part taste like? Is it still very like bitter tea forward? Is it very like fermentation forward?
If you hadn't told me it was tea, I would have had to concentrate to identify the tea flavor in it. I got evidently a somewhat powerful, less good flavor, according to people who responded to it on Twitter, the mystic mango flavor, because
Ugh.
people from the subcontinent are drawn to mango flavored things. But yeah, the tea taste is much stronger in other GT brand teas and other kombuchas. So I can't tell you for sure, but I could taste it. It just, I would have to concentrate if I hadn't known about it. But yeah, so they recommend so that when you strain it, they recommend that you keep the culture of yeast and bacteria so you can start making your own kombucha.
Oh yes, like a mother culture.
Yeah, exactly.
You could probably use that culture to start sourdough too,
Yeah, that makes sense.
if you really wanted to. I mean, I don't know. You should probably use like actual like sourdough yeast for that, and not
Well,
like,
a lot of sourdough recipes don't actually call for adding yeast. It just like kind of relies on environmental yeast, which that's a great sound, which is how sourdough bread became a thing in the first place.
well, yeah, and that imparts like health benefits of its own, or whatever. So I'm told. So I understand.
Yeah, I'm always suspicious of like probiotic arguments that do not stem directly from a deficiency in like gut bacteria.
Well, I think the argument for sourdough bread is reasonably strong. I'm not 100% sold on kombucha, so if GT wants to send me like a flavor pack, or maybe send Arif some flavors that are not the mango one, some more research may be required. It actually, like, the live yeast plus juice thing sounds a lot to me like a Central American beverage called tepache, which is like pineapple juice. I mean, it's basically like pineapple juice and beer. Then it relies on secondary fermentation to not only change the flavor, but like boost the alcohol content just a little bit. Not a whole lot. Maybe change it from like 4% to like 5.5%. But you can do some fun things with the flavors involved. And I would be curious to have some kombucha to make a kombupache with. Which, to answer Ted Kombucha Glover's question, is kombucha your new favorite word? No. Kombupache.
Evidently, it's kombupache. All right.
That's my new favorite word. What else we got here? Who would win if Dusty and Arif arm wrestled?
Me.
No.
I've won like nearly every arm wrestling contest I've entered.
You've never arm wrestled me?
I guess we'll find out in London.
Ooh. Oh, dip.
Yep.
I'm going to start doing pull-ups again.
Yeah, if you think that'll help.
Wow. You're a sassy, fat, bald man, aren't you?
Whoa, hey, I'm cloudy.
Goble Like Noble on Twitter writes in, if you had to choose between Jared Allen or Teddy Bridgewater as a guest on Norse Code, who would you pick and why?
Jared Allen. Not even, I mean, I love Teddy, but he's not like a dynamic interview. Jared Allen, easily.
Yeah, Jared Allen is press friendly. JC Hoodie, best carnival food you've ever had?
I feel like I should have a better answer to this, but I think it might be the deep fried Snickers.
Ooh.
That was it was so good, man. It was so good.
See, I feel like
thought I would like the deep fried Twix more because I prefer Twix as a candy bar, but something about the way it treats Snickers.
I feel like best, like to me, is the one that I keep going back to. And for me, that's the giant turkey leg. I know everything
I
you said
hate
about
the
turkey.
giant turkey
I
leg.
know, I know.
Ugh.
But
It's not even for like turkey reasons. It's always like dry and there's too much tendon.
well,
I guess that's a turkey reason, but
I don't even like it because I like to eat it. I like it because I
Just
like
like
to have it. I
having it
enjoy the
around.
experience of eating it more than I enjoy the food itself. There's just something like viscerally pleasurable about walking around a carnival with like an animal leg both in your hand and in your mouth at the same time.
Okay, I think my favorite purchase is the Martha's Cookies purchase, but I think my favorite single item is the deep fried candy bar. Because I think the deep fried candy bar I can't really have two of. You can have a lot of those cookies.
Yeah, I mean, like the tastiest thing is probably a fried Oreo, but that's not even really carnival food anymore. Like, uh, the sister bar to the one I work in has like a kitchen, and I'm doing air quotes right now because it's actually like a food truck that lives permanently under the bar, and they serve fried Oreos, and that's like, I mean, they're not going anywhere, and it's not state fair time. So it's like, is that even still fair food? But I sure do enjoy fried Oreos.
I think it counts as fair food.
But see, I would never eat like a turkey leg from there. Like if they had giant turkey legs, I would just be like, why would that? That's stupid. I'm not.
I'm not saying what they do counts as fair food. I'm saying that they happen to do one thing that counts as fair food: the fried Oreos.
Well, no, I'm just trying to draw like a distinction between the experience of eating something at a fair and eating fair food not at a fair.
I guess.
Maybe it's a distinction without a difference. I'm sure someone will crap up our mentions about it later. All right. We got 3 minutes to kill.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. We agreed before this show started we're going to do a 1 hour episode, potentially less. And
We didn't get any other questions?
When have we ever done less? I mean, we did, but they're like, most of them are dumb.
Oh, wow. Way to call it the listenership.
Well, Hoodie writes in, what's the biggest pot you ever won at poker?
What is the biggest pot you've ever won at poker? People love hearing poker stories, Dusty. You know that.
No, they don't. No, actually, people enjoy hearing certain kinds of poker stories. Nobody likes hearing a bad beat story. Nobody. Having said that,
When SVP tells a bad beat story, I listen.
well, I mean, I always listen. I mean, I've taken so many bad beats, it would be rude for me not to. No, dude. Okay, seriously. Back in the day, like I've seriously played like 2.5 million hands of poker online. I've taken a few bad beats. Biggest pot I ever won was actually live. It was in Vegas. I was like, this is funny. This is actually the weekend that I got off the plane, went to the MGM Grand. Waitress brought me a Corona, and then I was not seen without a Corona in my hand for 3 days. And my brother told me as we were flying back, he was like, dude, I've never seen anyone drink so much beer. I was like, well, all right. During that adventure, I was dicking around at 510 No Limit at the Bellagio because I was drunk for 2 days. And I think I peeled like a $2,200 pot or something. I don't know.
Nice.
It wasn't a winning session. It was just like an upswing in a random. That single pot didn't matter, but it was a lot of money. I guess if you want to be technical, the biggest pot I've ever won was the one that won me a tournament.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. That's always the biggest pot you win because all the money in a tournament is top loaded. So
Right, but I mean, like, what you gotta at least tell me what it was. Can't be like, yeah, I won a tournament. That was probably the biggest pot. Well, how much?
I finished first out of like 6,000 players. I think I made like 10 grand that day. That was a good day.
Oh, that's nice.
Ask me where that money is now.
I refuse to.
I don't fucking know. It's gone. It was my early 20s. I was an idiot.
Yeah, put that in a nice savings account, put some of it into retirement. Most of it's inaccessible by now by design.
Could have taken
very,
my
very wise of
one
you,
day's winnings and maxed out my 401k 2 years in a row. But I didn't. The lesson here is to not be young.
Oh, that's a great lesson, actually.
Blink-182 was right. No one likes it when you were 23.
Solid reference.
All right, last question from Hoodie. Now that we're 25 seconds over time. Have you raised enough money so Arif can get his knees done to get taller?
Did he send a YouTube link with that? I don't really... Because the only knee surgery jokes that I know of in pop culture are South Park related, and that's... Is that a South Park joke? I didn't click on the YouTube link.
Nope, it's a reference to the movie White Chicks, which no one should watch.
Oh, yeah, I definitely did not watch that. Sorry, Hoodie.
Well, we've raised enough money so that Arif can get his plane tickets done to get like 14,000 feet taller for a few hours. No, that's not true. Norse Code is actually not paying your way. You're still in talks.
Still in talks.
Air quotes. All right. Well, having paid our penance for taking an extra week off and doing episodes 2 weeks in a row, we hope you enjoyed this promotional extravaganza. Please check out the iTunes podcast store and leave us a 5-star rating. Please drop a few bucks in the kitty at paypal.me/NorseCode. If you want to buy a sticker, though, you got to go to our website, NorseCodePodcast.com. You can either click through to the merchandise page or you can go straight to NorseCodePodcast.com/merch and click on the sticker thing and, buy one. We'll get your mailing address and send one out post haste. They will be good quality. You will be proud to have it on any at least 12-inch long hard surface in your life. And what was the other thing?
Hey-o.
Oh, yeah. If you are a member of the Vikings UK community, please get in touch with us either on Twitter or at our email address, norsecodepodcast@gmail.com. And let's plan this out. Let's have ourselves a game and a good time afterward. And I don't know. We'll probably go to sleep for another week unless something crazy happens with the Michael Floyd thing or somebody else does something weird. Otherwise, there will likely not be much to
I was about to
report.
say, what crazy thing could possibly happen? And then I realized that you should never say that.
That's like asking, what's the worst that could happen? Like, that's the quickest way to find out what the worst thing that could happen is. Like, that's like, don't tempt the fates. Because
Next time when Adrian just says shit.
Oh yeah, he's taking a back seat to Mark Ingram now, apparently.
I think he's just taking the week off. Wasn't that the story?
I thought he was in the best shape he's ever been.
Yeah, well, in order to maintain the best shape you've ever been in, you've got to make sure that you don't, put too much wear and tear on your body. You can't play, football, otherwise you won't be in the best shape anymore.
Otherwise you won't be in shape to play football.
Yeah, right.
That makes perfect sense to me. All right. Well, I imagine you've got a training camp guide to finish writing.
Yeah, I'm going to take a quick nap and then get back to it.
Well, I have to learn more stuff about how to make orange juice taste like lemon juice or lime juice as I desire. So I'm going to go do that. Arif's going to go do some football stuff, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. And you can be assured that when we return, we will still be just a little below average. We'll see you then. Norse Code is the largest and only division of Norse Code LLC. You can find Norse Code on the Daily Norseman, SB Nation's Vikings blog at dailynorseman.com. You can also find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music Podcasts, or wherever else fine podcasts are aggregated. Our Vikings blogger extraordinaire and generally useful human is Arif Hassan, who can be found on Twitter at Arif Hassan NFL. Our intrepid producer and occasional co-host James Pagachnik can be found on Twitter at Big Mono or curating the official Norse Code Twitter feed at NorseCodeDN. I'm your host with a firm grasp of the obvious, Dusty O'Connell, and my name is my handle on Twitter. If you'd like to donate a few bucks to the show, your one-time donation can be made at paypal.me/NorseCode, or a recurring monthly contribution can be made by visiting patreon.com/NorseCode. Please visit our website, NorseCodePodcast.com, where you'll find links to our Facebook and YouTube pages, along with the episode archive and some other good stuff. And any questions or comments that won't fit in a tweet can be emailed to NorseCodePodcast@gmail.com. And on behalf of the entire Norse Code staff, thank you so much for listening.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.